There you go.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's so hilarious. Then let me go here. Okay, so now I'm gonna share my screen. Let me know if you see it. My little Canva screen here. Do you see this?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, again, welcome you all. Thanks for the for some of you all for coming in. Since we started the roundtable discussions, I just want to welcome you and let you know that my name is LaToya. Now I'm going to introduce myself a little bit here. So I am an award-winning certified meeting professional with 19 years of experience in corporate meetings and events and marketing. I am a multi-business owner. I own Chanel & Co., which is an event management and marketing agency. I specialize in planning corporate meetings, events, and conferences nationwide and international incentive trips. I also help small business owners grow their brands through events. It is possible. Trust me. You can really explode with events. So we offer planning services and also consultations. As I discussed earlier, I also own Culture Boss, which is a lifestyle apparel brand. I also look, I'm like Joyce. When Joyce talks about more things that she does, I'm like, yes, it's not just me. But I also own four. I just recently opened another one, like maybe a month ago. So I own four Etsy businesses, and I also am an Etsy shop coach. And of course, founder of Liz Chanel Boss Roundtable. I love events, and I love connecting people. So I've hosted so many networking events since 2008 in a variety of industries. And lastly, I am a former, because I don't know if you're ever a real former professional model, which got me into a lot of this with events and all that, like fashion show productions and different events, etc. So that's a little background on me. Our upcoming events for Liz Chanel Boss Roundtable is we are having a Boss Giving networking dinner next month. It's going to be in Romeoville. It's going to be in person at McWethy's Tavern, which has amazing food. It's a golf club. So with that, it's a unique networking experience. So it's for small business owners and entrepreneurs, and it's about celebrating our year and talking through our year and networking, obviously. Another aspect of it is that it will have a 50-50 raffle. So half of the money that you all, which is $40 to participate. So half of that goes to one of you all, and the other half goes to a charity that you help decide, help me pick who that charity is. So it's about giving back as well. And then in December, we are going to have a business planning workshop that is going to, let me go straight to this. I'm actually looking for speakers. So it's going to focus on creating plans for, well, finance plans, operations plans, and marketing. Basically just getting you set up for 2025. You have to have a plan. We honestly should have started this month, but you need to have a plan before the year is over, just to set you up. You should have a clear direction. So that's going to be a virtual event, December 11th on a Saturday. We are up early in the morning to get this done because we all know December is busy. So let's get this done. Let's, create these plans. And I'll also have a follow-up event to that so we can kind of work through our plans. Another thing that we should have been doing, hopefully in September, do you have a plan for the holidays, for your business for the holidays? Last year we hosted, in prior years, we hosted how to prep your business for the holiday season. That replay is available on our stand store at this link here. I'll also add it to the chat. And I also created for Etsy shop owners a holiday planning guide to walk you through how to plan your listings, how your shop should be set up for the holidays to attract customers. I get kind of nitty gritty here. So that planning guide is available on the stand store as well. I alluded to the fact, or I stated that I have already voted And it's my duty, okay, because again, you know, a nerd here, political nerd, to ask you to please, please, please vote. It's such a consequential election. I have added some, I actually emailed you all, and it's on our Instagram, some tips to prepare for for election day, and also some resources. So I'll share that as well. Okay, so without further ado, I want to start. Before I continue, does anyone have any questions at all about anything that I shared? Nope. Okay, I want to ask you all to please mute yourselves, please. Everyone mute themselves, except for the panelists. I'm going to bring the panelists up here. All right, Joyce, Alice, Danny, Stacy, and Keisha. Welcome, you all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So glad to have you. We're going to first start off by introducing yourselves. So the little twist here is going to be your name, your business, and the purpose-driven work that you do. Because I feel that what we do ties back to our purpose. So can you share that? Let's start first. I'll go in order here. Joyce. Welcome, Joyce.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joyce Dawkins. I am the founder of She Rocks It, Celebrating Women Who Rock, which is an event-based organization that hosts event experiences designed to honor and empower women. I'm also the founder of She Incorporated, a nonprofit organization whose mission is to help women move beyond their past and focus on rebuilding their future. I'm the creator of She Rocks It magazine, which is a magazine that was created from the pandemic as a way to stay connected to my network. I am also the founder of National I Am Day, which is a day where I just want the world to pause and affirm I am. I believe that whatever follows, I am is your truth. So, everybody, think for a moment. I am, put something behind the am, and whatever that is your truth. And lastly, I am the co creator of the only African American woman owned wine and spirit festival in the Chicagoland area. So I am the co creator of Clink Wine and Spirit Festival. It is an intentional event where we bring entrepreneurs in the wine and spirit industry from around the world to showcase their brands here. But it's not just about the wine and their spirits, it's about us putting in front of them distribution companies, marketing companies, grocery stores, and helping them getting their products on the shelf. So that is who she is. Oh, and my barbecue sauce. That is all.
Yeah. Thank you so much. All right, Miss Alice. It's great to see you. It's been so long, by the way.
It's always so nice to see you, and thank you for inviting me. Hi, everyone. My name is Alice Foy. I own a company called The Digital Jane. In short, we help teams to have better work days. I am a fractional COO. We handle systems, processes, and really making sure that team members are equipped with the technology and tools and knowledge retention strategies that they need in order to do the work that we're asking them for. My purpose is not systems and processes, right? My purpose is making sure that women are equipped to stay in business, that our operations are strong so that we can be sustainable, because finances is one reason, the lack of capital is one reason why we don't stay open. Another huge one is poor operations and not being able to equip teams for the work that we're asking them for. So that's just a little bit about me, and my background is in event production, festivals, brand activations, and things like that for over 10 years.
Love it. All right, thank you. All right, Miss Danny.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. We've had a few emails back and forth, so it's nice to meet with the name. So my name's Danette, but I go by Danny. I am originally from Chicago.
You said Danette?
Danette.
Oh, Danette. That's pretty. Sorry.
Thank you. My mom decided to name me after her. So her name is Jeanette, and now I'm Danette.
I like that.
But I go by Danny. I'm originally from Chicago, but I've been on the West Coast now for about 7 years. I am the CEO and founder of Thrive Limitlessly, which is a one-stop shop consultancy for career changers and culture makers. I also like to refer to myself as a mom techpreneur because my son is 2 years old. He's my boss.
Yes.
And
Mm.
by day, I work in HR in the tech industry, and by night, I run my one-stop shop consultancy and business. And essentially, our mission centers around helping individuals build satisfying careers and lives that they love. And then I also work with organizations, mostly startups and educational institutions who are interested in starting DEI strategies. And so I work a lot with them to cultivate inclusive workspaces, not only inclusive, but also healthy workplaces where those same individuals can thrive and feel seen, heard, and valued.
Love that. Thank you, Danny. All right, Miss Stacy. Welcome. Nice to meet you.
Hello, nice to meet you. I'm Stacy Bailey. I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. My kiddos are asleep in the next room and hopefully won't make an appearance if all goes well. I'm a consultant with Intention Collective. We believe that healthy leadership can change the world, and so we work with leadership teams to implement operating systems and healthy leadership practices, because that will make a difference in their team's lives and their company's lives and hopefully help them scale to success. My background is in digital agency operations. So I was the COO for the last 4 years at a digital agency. And so I predominantly work with service-based businesses in the digital space. But my purpose is really to help people, inspire them to take action, whether that's in their businesses or in their communities. We do that through really intentional programming. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Oh, how was your vacation? Really quickly.
It was amazing. I was telling them, I was like, we had the pleasure of taking our kids to Disney for the first time. And as a brand nerd, like the brand loyalty throughout the whole experience is just unreal. You know what I mean?
Great.
The hospitality is pretty unmatched, and I was pleasantly surprised.
That's amazing to hear.
Thank you.
From a hospitality professional, that is
amazing. I was like, oh, we forgot what hospitality was.
Yeah.
This is what it is. This is amazing.
Things have changed. It's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
All right, Kenisha. Welcome. Nice to meet you in person. Former clients. Bio editing.
Yeah, she wrote my first bio when I first started my business. Yes.
I'm an editing nerd too. I love editing. I love it.
Yes, you did. And in the stages of starting my business, you wrote my bio for me. So thank you. I appreciate that. I still use it. I've updated it a little bit, but I still use the foundation of what you wrote today. So that's good.
Wow. That's great.
But I am Kenisha Jones. I am a full-time higher education leader during the day, and I am team too much in the sense that I do a lot of things on the side as it relates to my business. So in my day-to-day, I think it leads into my business. I am vice president of student affairs and a chief diversity officer at the college that I work at. But I also lead as the state director of equity for the North Carolina Community College System, leading all 58 in their diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. My business is by design consulting. So I do consulting actually in the leadership space. That's how it started. I have a passion around leadership. I think that you get the best results when you pour into your people. So there needs to be leadership development and emotional intelligence. So I do a lot with that, but I also do a lot around diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I try to take those things together and support companies through either leadership development, or I do a lot of needs assessments where I go into an organization, I assess your current efforts related specifically to DEI, and then provide recommendations on how you could potentially improve your environment that you are providing, either if it's in nonprofit, I do a lot with nonprofit, or in the higher education space. Thinking about wins, I recently started a nonprofit called the Authentic Life Inc. I am very big on living authentically. I have a passion specifically for women and women of color being able to be their authentic selves. I started very young in my career, and me being able to be 100 proof took a long time for me to get to that place. And I do a lot of coaching with young adults or young professionals, specifically in higher education, and young Black women a lot of the times. And they have to wear a mask all the time. So that nonprofit is really around trying to empower women specifically that it's okay to be you. It's okay to show up as much of you as you can in the spaces in which you operate. And I challenge people to think about, if you can't, is that a space that you should be in? Because a lot of times when we don't, we are not doing that out of fear of loss of access to something or fear of loss of something. And so how can we begin to embrace and be okay? So that's something I've been trying to pour a lot into. If I think about my purpose, I think I operate in my purpose on a day-to-day basis, which is pouring into people and helping people grow. I think that is what I'm supposed to do. That's why leadership is so important for me in spaces, because if your leaders pour into the people, then the customers that you serve will feel that stuff. So I try to bring all that together.
Exactly. I totally agree. Thank you so much, you all, for sharing your backgrounds. We're going to jump right into the panel questions. So, very first question, because again, we have a lot that we are all juggling, right? Like, we are, I guess, serial entrepreneurs, multi-passion entrepreneurs. We just love helping people at the end of the day, is the common theme here. What daily or weekly habits help you stay productive while managing your business or businesses? Most of the time it's businesses. Let's start with Alice. Do you have habits? What are your...
Do I have habits to help me juggle it all and do it all? I do. So, of course, since I am a systems girly, I'm like, what do I need to make this work more efficient? I am a task man. I do everything. If it's not in my project management system or my calendar, it does not exist. It's just what it is, right? Jotting stuff down on paper leaves room for error. And when our clients hire us, they're looking for the best, right? So that means we're on top of it. So I use technology in a way that supports me, regardless of how scatterbrained I may be, trying to balance things. Another thing that really helps me is taking Monday as my CEO day. So I'm doing all of my internal strategy kind of stuff. Maybe I'm focusing on admin. What I use the day for just depends on what the needs are, but I don't take any meetings, as long as I can absolutely avoid it. I use Monday as an internal day to focus on the things that only I can do. And it has not always been an entire day. In some seasons, it's just been 4 hours, but even that has given me the relief. And yeah, and then me and Joyce talked about this. I'm like, and rest is productive. I also, when I need rest or to go take a walk or to lay down for a minute, I don't feel any shame in that anymore like I used to in the earlier years.
Right.
So I would say those three things and holding myself accountable to sticking with them have really allowed me to expand and be able to juggle.
So I agree with the rest. All right, thank you. Anyone else like to chime in?
I can go ahead and chime in. I would plus one what Alice said. What I would add to that is what has helped me from like a daily habit standpoint is like slow mornings. So getting up, taking care of myself, doing some like yoga and breath work. One of the things that I wanted to do this year was go to a like meditation retreat. And that just kind of helped me to understand how to be present with myself, and how to just take care of myself. And so that was really re-energizing for me. And so I've kind of incorporated some of those practices every day because I think you can't pour from an empty cup, right? I will also say that as entrepreneurs and CEOs and founders, we get the most random ideas. We can be asleep and something will come to us, or we can be in the shower, or we can be taking the kids to school and something will come to us. And we don't always write those things down because we'll think, oh, I can come back to it, right? And so for me, it's when I get the most random thoughts, even if it's in the middle of a dream, like waking up and just jotting it down so that I can come back to it has also helped me to stay productive and bring those ideas that I have to fruition. And so that's also something thing that I've been incorporating for myself is being able to write down those small random thoughts, no matter how small they are, and then circling back around with my team to see how we can bring those things to life. So those are the two things that I would add to Alice's point.
Okay, thank you. Do you all find that when you're in the shower, most of your ideas come to you? I find that to be very, very true. I guess it's because it's no distractions, right? It just feels like everything just kind of, you can really figure things out in the shower. It's just such a quiet strategy place. How about that? Let me ask, what productivity habits have you had to unlearn or adapt over time? Stacey, you want to pick that one up?
So mine's the context switching. Like, it's so easy to be like, oh, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to bounce and do that, and then I'm going to get distracted and do that, and then I'm going to bounce and do that. And so, you know, similar to Alice saying, like, the systems, it's like there's a productivity tool I found called Sunsama, which I just love, because it has helped me unlearn my bad habits, where it like walks you through in the morning, like, what are your priorities for the day? This is too much work. So what are you not going to do today? What are you going to reschedule? And it, I feel like it's my personal accountability buddy to setting reasonable expectations, because otherwise my bad habit is setting way too much work on the plate for the day. And then that's never going to happen. Yeah, that's Insama. It's a good tool. It's also privately owned, and so they put out all this content around how they're like not going to sell it. They're just going to do it for their own purpose because they think it's important, which I also love.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check that out. Thank you.
Yeah.
Does anyone else want to answer that? What productivity habits have you had to unlearn or adapt over time?
For me, being okay with saying no. I do a lot. I like to be in the mix. I don't think I can function if I wasn't in the mix anyway, but being okay with just, yeah, I can't do that, and saying that you can't do that, and setting that boundary and being okay with the boundary that you set, because when you feel bad about it, you really didn't set the boundary, right? So setting those boundaries and being okay with saying, I just can't do it. And then I think taking care of yourself is extremely important. Like, nothing, no job, no contract is ever going to be more important than you. And so how do you put you first? And then figure out how does everything else work around your self-care, your mental health, those things. And then you're less stressed when you are the priority and not necessarily the product or the contract or the person that you're working for.
Well, Keisha, since you brought up self-care, how do you all protect your time, stay productive? Look, all the things. Protect your time, stay productive, and allow yourself flexibility to recharge, all while ensuring that your business or businesses run smoothly.
Okay. So for me, I'm gonna tap a little bit into what Keisha said with that no being my non-negotiable. I don't negotiate, right? And I manage my highest priorities first, you know, looking at what is most important and what can wait until next week, right? And so when I'm thinking about how I'm, managing that day and how I am doing so many different things, working in my corporate space, that's something similar to Keisha as well. I work in corporate every day, right? And so my corporate calendar has a setting on there like every day at like 10 o'clock. It's been that way for like 12 years. And everybody was like, what happens at 10 o'clock? We can never schedule. Well, and I keep the truth. I say, well, I check social media, I send emails, I look at my phone. Is that we thought that there was like a meeting or you taught a class? No. But if you don't intentionally set time for yourself, you
Right.
won't have time to just say, they use the term debrief. Like I work, then I take a
Right.
break. I intentionally take this break to just walk away, disconnect. And then when I come back to work, I'm able to reconnect. I don't feel overwhelmed or anything like that. And I take control of my own calendar. So I pull the calendar up. And if you saw my calendar, it's like meetings, 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 right? But I squeeze in like 20 minutes. 5 meetings a day, 5 of them are for me. So you'll see 10 things, but of those 10 things, 5 belong to me. So you just have to learn how to take control of your time. Otherwise, somebody else is going to get in the driver's seat and they're going to go in the direction that they want to go. And you're just going to be tagging along. You're going to be the passenger in your own car. So
Right.
that's what I do.
Thank you. That's some great insight. Do you all block off time on your calendar for yourself as well? Kind of have to, right? That's like a little secret, I guess. I mean, I hope majority of people do. If not, please do it. Set meetings with yourself. Alice, were you gonna say something about self-care?
I was going to say I have learned how to stop at capacity. People are always, I got it, especially in events. It got to this point where I was taking multiple really big events that had very similar timeline, a lot of different deliverables and a lot of different meetings. And I was like, oh, but they reached out to me and they wanted me to be able, it was all about pleasing the other person and never about myself. And so one of the first things that I did within the Digital Jane was we have workload capacities. We work based off of billable hours. I know how much time I'm spending per account. And so before I even say yes to something, I'm looking at our capacity to say whether or not we can take this on now, or maybe it's something we can take on, a couple months down the line. And holding myself accountable to that has been helpful. And then also setting the expectation at the start of a new partnership, not letting people take you off of track with whatever capacity you have set up or whatever boundaries you have. So from my contract to our onboarding and kickoff call, where are we communicating? Is it going to be Slack? Is it going to be, I make that clear so I'm not getting text messages at 3 o'clock in the morning from a creative client who has new ideas, right? So I think all of those things are a part of my self-care, because it basically safeguards me from having to have those difficult conversations again and again, or stretching myself too thin. I'm always thinking about my capacity. So honor your capacity and stop at capacity. The money will be there. You may need to charge more to take on less, but it really does allow you to operate at a standard of excellence when you operate and stay within your own capacity.
I'll also say with the boundary you just said, it kind of brought something up for me, which is, make sure what you're saying, like the clients aren't having you at 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning, calling you, texting you, emailing you, expecting you to reply. I was working at another event agency, and if you know me, you know that I'm sending you emails 9 at night, etc. Right? Just because I'm up, especially not having kids, it's like when I gotta work when they're asleep, right? A lot of times. But I sent an email, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10 p.m. And my manager was like, what are you doing, to a client? She's like, what are you doing? Like, you can't send messages at that time. Like, what do you mean? I was working. Well, look, you can send the message, or you can schedule the message to send at like 8 in the morning. But don't sit here and start sending all these messages at night, because then they're gonna have the expectations that, oh, Latoya, let me, and she doesn't respond to me, let me reach out to her manager, or whatever the case is. It's gonna be a whole thing. So don't set that expectation. So again, stick with those boundaries. That's a little tip for you. If you're working at night, just schedule it for the morning so people don't see or expect you to be up that late. How do you prioritize tasks? This is a huge one, right? And what tools or systems do you use to manage your workload and minimize distractions? Danny, how do you prioritize tasks?
I am a systems girly too. So I use Asana to work with my team to manage my social calendar, as well as special projects. So us building digital products, the IG Live series that we have going on, and any other special projects. I also use Slack, to Alice's point, to communicate with my team and then also my clients. If there's something that is urgent that comes up, my team knows that they can contact me immediately and get a response from me on Slack. And then I also use Dubsado, which is my CRM. So it's how I manage my clients from end to end. So the onboarding experience and the offboarding experience, I found that I spent a lot of time when I first started my business doing things manually, from scheduling, their intake calls, getting their assignments out, giving them feedback. And so I wanted to be more efficient with my time. And so I invested in a CRM that has been life-changing for me and has really gotten me out of the weeds. And so those are the three systems that I use: Slack, Dubsado, and then Asana for managing my projects, timelines, and deliverables.
Can you, for people who do not know, can you explain Slack a little bit more?
It's like instant messaging. I think it's instant messaging. So it's like Facebook Messenger, but at the enterprise level, right? You can have thousands of employees on Slack.
Okay. So I just added that to the chat. Anyone else? Keisha, how do you prioritize tasks?
I've used some technology like Slack or GroupMe, just depending on the methodology or modality people want to communicate. But I use other people. So like I use in my day-to-day, I use my admin. Delegation used to be real hard for me. But then I learned that I got to let things go and trust that you're going to do them. I know you're not going to ever do it like I do it, but you can do it. So I'm going to let you be great and do it. So from my day job, I depend heavily on my administrative assistant, but I'm big on my time, kind of going back to Joyce and prioritizing my tasks, because I do split my time between my college and 58 other colleges in North Carolina. And so how can I make sure that I'm doing and meeting the needs of my job? And so utilizing my assistant, I think, is the biggest thing. So delegation for me actually is extremely important. And then in my business, I broke down and got a virtual assistant because I was doing a lot of communications, doing a lot of follow up on things, and yeah, I can get somebody else to do that. I can give you a template and some foundation to be able to do it, and then you can do that communication. So for me, I think that kind of helps me get through the week. I do utilize Sunday, like I don't do any work on Sunday, but I do utilize Sunday as a day for me to kind of look at what my week looks like and what does that mean from a travel, because I do travel a lot in the things that I do, either with my job or my business. And so what does that look like so that I'm not stretched thin throughout the week? I think for me, I may use some systems, but I depend heavily on other people to fill in gaps of things that I can't do, instead of me trying to do everything. Because in my business, it is just me. I don't have other consultants or other people. At times I pull people in depending on the topic or colleagues that I have. But so I've had to figure out how to utilize the resources that I do have in order to do that.
Okay, thank you. So speaking of building a team, whoever would like to chime in, how did you find the right team members for delegation? And what qualities were you looking for?
For me, so I have a chief of staff, and then I have a brand designer who manages my social media. She manages my brand, my website, and any digital products or digital collateral like my newsletter that goes out. So she manages that. Her and I have been working together from the very beginning. So she was the person who, after I kind of started that trademark experience for myself, I kind of landed on a name, and she kind of built out my brand. And so when we finished building out the website and everything, I was like, oh, okay, I can do this on my own. She gave me templates and everything. And I was like, all right, I got the social media templates down. I got the newsletter template down. I have all my logos. I have my letterheads. I'm going to be fine. I did not realize that social media was everything that went into it, not only building out the collateral, but also the captions, also the hashtags, also like the schedule, right? And if you have multiple social media platforms, managing the schedule across, right? So once I realized that, I'm like, okay, I'm biting off more than I can chew and more than I can wrap my arms around. I'm like, Johanna, I think we need to do a retainer, right? And so her and I have been lock and step for the last 4 years. Now, I've gone through some hurdles with trying to find that virtual assistant and now who I have as a chief of staff. And so for me, what I was looking for was someone who can move with a sense of urgency, someone who was a strategic thinker, someone who can solve problems independently, but also manage tasks, right, seamlessly. So for me, that was important because I did have a situation last year where I hired a virtual assistant who was also local to Sacramento. So I thought we would hit it off well. But what I realized is that there were things that I was giving her, and to Keisha's point, she wasn't doing them necessarily the way that I had envisioned. And so for me, it was about finding out my own stride in my business and what I want, what I don't want. But then also figuring out what am I able to kind of let go and be okay, even if it doesn't come out exactly the way that I see it, right? Am I okay letting it go in that way, right? And not trying to always have that span of control over certain things in my business. And so that's how I've been able to think about how I've built my team and then the things that I delegate to them.
Thank you. That was very insightful because it's challenging to, okay, look, a lot of us are perfectionists, okay? Let's just be honest with ourselves. A lot of us are. And it's challenging to give these tasks to other people and you hope that they do it the way you want to do, right? How do you get past that hurdle mentally? Because sometimes, like I hire people and all that, but sometimes I might hire them and they don't do it the way that I'm asking them to do it or whatever the case is. Then I have to redo it. Or in my head, sometimes I'm like, well, look, the time that I, spend explaining to them to do this, I could have been had it done. What are your insights on that? Alice, you have stuff to say.
I'm like, I am itching to get in there. I'm like, okay, the first thing, the first thing that I'll say is that a lot of times when we're delegating, it is reactive. Something's on your plate now, you need it done now. And so you're just trying to hurry up and get it onto the VA, the admin, whoever's plate to do it for you, right? But what if you took time to develop more predictability in their scope of work where they could actually own things, right? Meaning every week she knows kind of what to do, and then whatever comes up, she can do that in addition, right? We have to prepare people for the work that we're asking them for, and that comes by documenting things maybe only If you have a certain way that you want something formatted or sent, you may have to spend some time recording Loom videos or a Tango or, just spending a little bit more time on SOP development or training. Because once you do that, if you set a standard, it's going to show you whether or not this person is the right fit for the role. But when you're always in a reactive standpoint where you're like, oh, I need you to do this right now, you're not giving them the opportunity to own it and see it through in the best way, right? And it doesn't free you from the task either. To answer your first question, my second hire ever in life 6 years ago is still with me now. And I didn't find value in having an admin. I don't need someone. I'm not doing a lot of tasks. I'm moving like projects forward, right? So the person that works with me is like my implementation partner. We can divide. She can't do strategy yet on the level that I can, but she can literally own her own segment of work in a way that I don't have to micromanage or check before it goes out. And so I pay more, of course, but I find more value in having that because I had a team of 6 and I spent so much time managing that it was almost like having more clients and more work to do. And so I felt like not only was it affecting the bottom line, I was getting less actual client work done because I was overseeing, and so I would just say, make sure that you're hiring at the right skill level too, because it's not always an admin. It's not always a VA. You have to see what the predictability is in your scope of work to be able to say, this may actually be an operations person. This could be a more senior level role that I need to budget for. And that just comes from looking at the things that you're constantly doing and managing.
I appreciate that. Joyce, do you have anything? Stacy, anyone in regards to managing and finding, rather finding the right team members?
Yeah. For me, it's a little different because I have the organization, and so it's more event based. So I do have people in place for events, like to do different things with the events. But when I put my team together, one of the things I was very intentional about was making sure that nobody on my team knew each other. And so, did I freeze? Okay. I was very intentional about making sure that nobody on my team knew each other.
Mhm.
And so the reason I did that is because I needed fresh ideas. I didn't need anybody to come together, get on the side, and start talking about what I'm not doing and things like that. I really wanted just a fresh table where we can really come together collectively, share ideas. And I knew everybody's strengths and what their skill sets were. And so I really wanted to, bring those differences together. And they really helped me, if anybody, well, Michelle, you've been to the events. I don't have to do anything.
No, it's a
Like,
well-oiled machine.
I don't have to do anything from
Really is.
you're going to get greeted at the door.
Right.
I have a volunteer coordinator who does volunteer training. And she asked, are you a people person or do you like to be in the back? People honestly say, I'm not a people person. Like, I would prefer to be in the back. That doesn't mean you can't be on my team. That I want you to tell me where you will be best, served. So that's what I do in terms of just making sure that I have a great team. And my team has been with me since 2016. I have other organizations that reach out saying, what do you do? How do you keep the same team? And how do they do this? But it's, they are owners. I don't treat them like volunteers or anything. They're owners, and I want them to treat my organization as if it was their own. So that's what I do.
I love that. Hire a team of owners who are going to own their task and really take it as if they own the business, to be honest with you. I remember again working different corporations and agencies. That's how they kind of treated us, where it's like, look, you're an entrepreneur. That's what they would say to us. I mean, little did they know I was, but like, act like this is your business and own that task and move forward, move accordingly like that, where it's like your business. Really have to be invested in that. So I love that. Hire a team of owners. Danny, wait, you're China. Stacy, do you have a team?
Yes, but what I would add and what we help like our clients when they're building their teams, when they're hitting those thresholds, is really I feel like most people are reactive, like Al said, but also in addition to like what is the proactive predictability of the scope of work is getting being honest with yourself about what your clarity levels actually are. Because most people are like, don't really know what they're asking for from others. And so if they don't really know because they would just figure it out, then they're setting someone up to fail, right?
Yes.
So, this all comes back to accountability. And so we've got this tool that we teach folks to use around getting really clear, because I think it's a hard practice, especially for entrepreneurs who bounce from thing to thing, to stop and be like, what am I actually looking for and asking of someone else? And so there's this Brene Brown tool called the 5 C's, and it's color, context, connective tissue, cost, and consequence. And the like short version of those things is color. It's like, what are you really trying to get to? What's the final goal or outcome? Context, what's going on in the organization that they need to be aware of so that they could like be an owner and take action? Because if they don't have the context, they can't do that. What's the connective tissue of how does this impact other people's work or what you're doing or whatever, so that they can do that? What is the cost of doing this, both doing it or not doing it, financial, time, otherwise? And then what are the consequences of not doing it, right? What's at stake? So I love this tool because as also like I'm like an Enneagram 8, like get stuff done as fast as possible. When I like slow down, I'm like, I don't actually know what I'm asking them to do, right? So I feel like if you can slow down, get clear, then you're asking the right questions of people so that you're bringing the right people on board and staying aware of the follow through that you really need from them. Or do you need an idea person, or do you need follow through? Because those are different people, right?
So where do you all actually find them? Like I use Fiverr, I use Upwork, I, people within the industry, like if it's
Yeah.
on-site management and all that, yeah, referrals. How do you all find the right team or people to help you? Whether it be volunteers, you already kind of talked about that, Joyce, or team members, how do you all find them?
For my brand designer, I remember when I was working on my business plan, I was like, I want to work with a group of Black and brown women to build my brand. So my trademark attorney was Black, my brand designer is Black, like my copywriter was Black, like the whole launch team was like a woman of color. And so I made a short list of, I went through Instagram and I was looking for like brand designer, website designer, and just kind of made a short list of people that kind of fit that criteria, had a series of like intake calls with them, looking at their price points and their proposals. And I landed on my brand designer, who I've been with now for like 4+ years. My initial virtual assistant that didn't work out last year, I found her on Instagram. She had like a Pinterest account, and when I found out she was in Sacramento, which is local to me, I was like, oh, this is amazing. But that one didn't work out. My current chief of staff is actually the VA to one of my brand designers' clients. So we're all kind of working together. So my brand designer manages multiple brands. And so one of her other clients, we share the same chief of staff. And so it was through a referral, and it's been working out. She's been with me now for over a year.
Nice. Instagram and also like Facebook groups. It just depends on what you're looking for. Anyone else want to chime in? Okay, how do you onboard your team? When you do find them, how do you ingrain them, I guess, into your company culture and making sure that they're on the same path, the same path as you in your company mission? Do you have a handbook? I've created handbooks.
For me, when I have a lot of women who reach out and say, "Oh, I want to be a part of the team. I want to be," but I just need to know why, right? Have you looked at the website? Have you read the magazine? Have you been to an event? Because really, I want you to not follow it because somebody was like, "Oh, you need to follow She Rocks It," but really, then why? Get to know who we are, get to know what we do, and does that mirror some of the things that you want in your life, or does that mirror some of the things that you do in your life, right? So when women want to join the team, we do a volunteer orientation, informational session, right? So my volunteer coordinator has a bunch of questions that she goes through. There's an application because we really do want to know, have you ever been to any of the events, right? Because the majority of the volunteering will be based around the events. Do you know how we operate, right? We do role playing because I'm not about matching negative energy. So how are you going to respond when somebody walks up and say, "I had a ticket, my name should be on the list," right? Are you going to get snappy, or are you just going to be like, "Well, you know what? It's okay. Let's step over here. Let's, figure it out." And the team is so good with that when someone does come on the team, they're paired with someone already on the team so that they can see how we operate. And I just don't put them out there by themselves so that they, you know, um, just don't feel lost. So it's really about finding the right people through, for me, informational sessions, or through recommendation. So if you're on my team and you say, hey, my friend, she's this, she's that, she's this, I think she will be great. And then, I'll take referrals that way.
Love it. Anyone else? How do you onboard your team?
Onboarding is a whole thing.
Really,
So what I'm really careful of, because I know that our work is a lot, right? It's a lot of information. It's a lot to know. It's a lot of resources and things. I'm not going to try to give them everything that they need on day one. So I break it down into 3 core days that we jump on Zoom because we're 100% virtual. And the first day, I'm just going through our core values, our communication expectations, like all of those things, making sure that they're able to get into our system. So our ClickUp, our password manager, all of their access things. Day 2, we're spending more time on how to use those things, and I think taking time to train them on the tools that they're going to be using on a day-to-day basis is really helpful before they get into client work. And then leaving them with resources so that they can self-educate. I can't spend 8 hours with you to teach you this thing. I can walk you through, I can leave you with some written processes, and we can, circle back when you have questions. And then we also have like recorded videos and things.
Yes, I was
to
just gonna
help
ask
them.
about that.
Yeah, so our processes have videos within them so that if it's specific functions that we're teaching them how to do on boards that I built, the video is walking them through it so I don't have to every single time. And then that third day, I want them to shadow us on a client call. That's normally how we've been doing it. If they're going to be client facing, either myself or it's Cara, they'll sit in, they'll observe how we run a meeting. All of the, structure, the meeting structures and things already exist. But I think seeing it in real time is a totally different thing. Learning, I may not even need you to take notes, but I may ask you just because I want to see how you bucket the information and how you're able to follow. So training and getting someone onboarded is that's an ongoing process. It's not going to happen in 3 days, but I try to take it day by focus so that they have time to digest the information that I'm giving on each day and then get their hands in it, which is how most of us learn anyway.
Of that process. So how do you decide which tasks to delegate versus which ones to handle personally?
There are some things. So to Takira and I, we've been working together so long that we know our zones of genius. I know where she's amazing. She knows where I shine. And for me right now, it keeps changing though. I will say over the years, I was so excited just to have someone doing something for me that I would be hovering over the task that I gave her just to see how she did it. Now I'm like, girl, you can send that. I don't even need to see it. But I do a lot more of the strategy stuff. I do the strategy layout. This is the plan. I'm managing the timelines. I'm calling next steps. And then if the next step is to write the process, I know that she's capable of doing that. So I'm clear on what her competencies are. So it makes it easy for us to say where we draw the line. I would love not to be the only one doing strategy. But that's just not happening yet. But when you're starting, I think it's important to make sure that not only are you saying, well, that was in the job description, take it a step further than the job description and ask the person, what are some of the things that you really love that you want to do more of, right? And I'm not saying that that's all that they're going to be able to do, but you can, learn to be like, okay, next time that comes up, I'll give that to you so that they're able to find some joy in the ownership of their work as well. But I think just starting with tasks is like, okay, assign something that may not be time sensitive, that you have time to review until you get used to handing things off. See how they do. Give them feedback. Don't expect perfection the first time. And then, just monitor that and entrust them with more and more as they prove that they're capable of handling it.
Appreciate that. All right, Ms. Keisha, what about you? Since like you said earlier, you're a one-woman show for the most part. How do you decide that, hey, I don't want to handle this. Let me hire somebody to manage this?
So I do a lot of consulting type of things. And so for me, when thinking about how do I pick people, I have a network of people that I interact with on a regular basis, just based off of the nature of what my day-to-day job is doing. And a lot of them do outside things. And the thing that I guess I'm thankful for is that we pull each other in based off of our level of expertise. So when I'm thinking about who I'm going to bring in, it's generally from a lens of what can't I provide and what I'm being asked to provide, the scope of work that I'm doing. And so where's there a place where I may be weak and somebody else is stronger in? And so I try to think about my relationships that I have with people from that lens and pull people in as needed. I think Alice said earlier, being proactive about what my roles are. So if I think about my day job, I'm very proactive with my admin about all the projects that I have, all the things that I have going on for the month, not for the week. And it may be for 2 months or 3 months in advance, so that she knows these are things that I should be doing to assist Keisha each week. I don't have to continuously go to her and say, hey, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? Instead, when she and I are meeting, because she and I meet every other week, she's kind of telling me, well, I've already done this. I've already done this. You don't have to worry about this. This is already taken care of. I can ask and say, hey, have you reached out to this person about this? And she'd be like, oh, I've already done that. So I think being proactive with whoever you pull in is extremely important. I think I've had to come to learn that, am I judging a person and what they do based off of the standard that I hold myself to, or the expectation that I set for them in the work that I gave them to do? A lot of times we get frustrated because they didn't meet our standard, but they met our expectation. We gave them a deliverable, they did the deliverable, they met the expectation, and sometimes they exceeded the expectation, but it was not our standard of what we would do. So the other thing I think Danny mentioned that I try to do is things that I know I want a particular way, I go ahead and create directions, a template, or an example, provide an example of what I would like it to look like, and then you do it. Or if it's a flyer or something, here's a template in Canva. Now you go in and you throw some stuff in it, but this is the template that I want you to use, or these are the colors you should always use for this, or this is the font that you should always use for this. I think giving people as much information on the front end provides more efficiency on the back end. And when you do begin to delegate, you begin to build that trust because you know you've built those things. So I'm big on SOPs. I'm big on having handbooks. I'm big on direction. So even when I think about, even though I don't have a direct staff that I pay, that works for me all the time, when I bring other consultants on, I do talk to them about like what this process is. This is the scope of work. This is how I do my work. These are the expectations that I have if you're going to be able to consult with me. I meet with them about the project and talk to them about the project to see if that's something that they are going to be able to do from a time capacity wise and some of the other requirements of the role. So I think being proactive is extremely important. And the more you give up front, the better it is on the back end. You don't have to worry about as much on the back end if you're willing to take that time. That took a long time for me to get to a place of saying, hey, if I sit with you for a couple of hours and show you how to do this thing, then on the back end, I'm not going to have to fix a lot. I'm not going to have to keep asking you things. And so how do you partner with someone that can almost read your mind, so to speak? I'm a big sharer of knowledge. I think a lot of times we hold on to things. So I need you to almost be able to be me if I can't be me right now. So how can I share knowledge and expose you to some things? So like my admin is exposed to a lot of things that other admins at the college are not exposed to because of the nature of what I do, and I pull her in. And so I need to be able to depend on you for this part of my job in order for me to do the other part of my job. And then when I think about my business, my virtual assistant is actually my son. I had worked with some people and it didn't work out. He needed a job. He was sitting in my house. He wasn't doing much because my son is 23. He wasn't doing much. Young people quit jobs like nobody business. They are not staying at a job right now. If you look at them wrong, they quitting, okay? And so he knows that I have a business, so he would help me with some things, but he is really good with social media and recording things, and he has his own level of expertise. I think that goes back to figuring out where you have some weaknesses, but you don't have time to work on it, grow in it. You don't want to work on it. You don't want to grow in it. You don't even want to do it. So how can you find people that fill those gaps? And for me, he's 23. He on social media all the time. He has taught himself how to record and edit and do a whole bunch of things. So now he has been able to do a lot of communication, but I had to do a lot of sitting down and saying, son, this is how the messages should be. This is your template. This is what you do. This is the time frame in which you respond. It took us a minute to get it together, but now he actually does a really good job, and it's like now a little part-time for him and not necessarily as many hours as he was doing before, but capitalizing on other people's strengths that are around me who don't have the time to do a lot.
Right. Thank you. Man, that was good. Okay. You all are so impressive. Just FYI. Now this is a little tricky subject here. Compensation. A lot of times, okay, we know we need to delegate, we need to hire people. Like, how did you all determine? And I know it's gonna be kind of challenging to answer because it just is case by case, but overall, how did you determine the right compensation for your team members when you first started delegating? So that could be, I'm sure a lot of you might say, well, whatever they came with me with, like, this is how much the fee is. You might have went with that, or you might have negotiated, or you might have stated up front, look, this is what I'm willing to pay. This is my budget. Can you work with it or can you not? How did you all determine that? Or how do you determine that? I know it's a tricky one.
For me, let's say I get a project. So I just recently did a needs assessment for a nonprofit in a county to help them build relationships with the Black community, the white nonprofit. In my scope of work, in my contract, I make the assumption that it's gonna be more than me, that I'm gonna have to bring people on. And at this stage, because I do so much, you're gonna pay me. And if you can't pay me, that's okay. It's all right. We're not meant to work together. It's okay. And so in that, I try to make sure that while I have the expectation that I have a level of what I'm being expected based off of not just the deliverable that you're going to get, but the time, the effort, all the things put into the deliverable, I factor that for that person. So if you're going to pay me well, you're going to pay them well. So the overall request that I make includes the ability for me to pay someone more than they probably would make if they were doing it on their own. So for me, that's kind of how I think of it, especially when I'm bringing other people into the project. I want them to be paid well as well. And so I try to embed that in the overarching contract offer. And then I try to produce a really good deliverable so that you feel like, hey, it was worth the money at the end of the day.
Right.
But even with my son, because he was my son, I didn't want to nickel and dime him.
Right.
Really about, what am I asking him to do? How much time is it going to take him to do? What is the quality in what I want from him? Because when you don't pay a lot, you don't always get the best quality, depending on who you get. And so that's the other thing that I factor in, that if I put the money in, then I want quality. I'm going to get quality the more that I pay. Equity is extremely important to me. Basically, pure nature of what I do on a regular basis. So ensuring that people are being paid equitably for what they do, especially people of color, because that's not always a privilege that they get. I try to, if I decide that I'm gonna hire somebody and spend some money on something, then I made the decision within self that I'm gonna probably pay a little bit more. And because I do a lot of hiring just in my regular job, I've kind of figured out like what's a good rate or salary to pay depending on what I'm asking somebody to do.
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else want to chime in? Stacy, I feel like you have
Oh,
something.
sorry.
I feel like it.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to do a little bit of research about what the going rate is for whatever the thing is, or the service, or the, level. And then depending on the size of the organization, understand like where we fit into sort of salary bands and brackets, so that we can be like, we're not a company that's big enough to pay the most, but we can pay, within the second or third quartile, or, kind of whatever it is, but having that be like a strategy for the business. So doing research, balancing it with profit, right? Like, is this a revenue generating role? Is it not? Is it purely an ops role? And if it is, then how do we manage that on the bottom line? And then, based on who you're finding, what their salary request is, kind of like balancing those three things to come up with what the ultimate offer is. And then also taking in the non-financial things that we can offer into consideration as well, right? Like, is that flexibility? Is that time? Is that, advancement, education, whatever those things are, which I think can often be an asset to a small business, where they can offer some of those more flexible things that a bigger corporate may not be able to provide, even if they can't offer the same amount of financial compensation.
For that insight, anyone else want to tackle that?
Can I add to that? Because that is exactly how I approached our model. At first, I didn't know what to pay, right? It was like part-time. You may have hours some weeks, you may not. Like in the very beginning, it just wasn't, I couldn't guarantee anything, but if I get paid, you're going to get paid, right? So her first rate was very low. But she was just happy to come on and learn and do it. And as soon as I got to a point where we had enough demand and I was able to charge more, I raised her rate without her having to ask me, right? So now I do what I call, I just follow billable hours, because there's a rate that we're paid for consulting. And then within that rate, I've already factored in my profit and how much it costs for her to do work and how much it costs for me to do work. And that's within that hour that the client is paying us for. The client doesn't have to worry about hours or tracking hours, but I use Harvest as a time tracking system to see how, like, if a project is built at 50 hours a month, it's tracking that for me, so that when she works, she just turns on her timer. It's tracking time. That's the same timer. That's the same account of breakdown of hours she uses to invoice me, because she's still a 1099 contractor, right? So that has helped me to not only see profit and where time is going, but to make sure that for every hour that we're working, her time is accounted for, my time is accounted for, and profit is always a factor. But I would say do research. When I first started, I didn't have a lot of money to pay, but what I did was the flexibility incentive. Just, if you're online 2 to 3 hours a day, and I know that, I can look at the calendar and see Takira's online, that's helpful for me. I had a team Starbucks card when we were a team of 6. It was just a small incentive where I just went to starbucks.com, bought a gift card, everybody got the barcode, and they really loved that, right? And then another thing, since everyone was contractors, over the winter break, when we take our 2 weeks off like a company would, normally as a producer, I never got paid for those for that time. If I wasn't working, I wasn't getting paid. So I would save enough to cover their average hours over that break so that people still get paid over the holiday. So I may not always be able to pay. I'm not at a point yet I wasn't at a point where everybody was on a retainer, but it was other small incentives that I could use to offset them being contractors. And then just making sure that I'm thinking about billable hours. Like, how much are you available? 40 hours? Okay, let's build up this 40 for you, and that has been helpful. So start with what you can. And I think just be open about what that is. Do some research to see if it's at least within the range for the experience that you're looking for and the role that you're looking for. And then as you grow, it can go up. And when people can see the vision and they're investing in it, I mean, her rate it's probably 4 times more than what it was when we first started 6 years ago. And that's probably still not enough, right? I'm still trying to get us more. So, yeah.
Thank you. Really appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that. Well, I appreciate every one of you all. That has concluded my overall questions, the panel questions. But let's move to the pre-submitted questions. And there were two. After those pre-submitted questions, whoever have any questions, feel free to either place them in the chat or you can ask them live after these two questions. So the first question that was pre-submitted is, what's one piece of advice you wish you had when you first started delegating? Whoever would like to take that one.
I would say don't be afraid to do a trial period, right? So, if you know you're maybe unsure about someone's skill set and maybe you're still unsure about what it is that you want, you know, maybe working with someone on like a 3 month basis to like figure out and give yourself enough time to figure out what it is that you want and then also aligning with the person's skill set. I had a situation where again I had that virtual assistant last year and I remember we were kind of talking about her price point and she sent me her proposal and she was like asking for $800 a month. And, you know, come to find out, she wasn't even worth that, like based on the output and things that she was doing for my business. But I did push back and say, hey, here's what I can do. And so I think when I brought on my chief of staff this year, you know, last year, and kind of talked to her about some of the hiccups and things that came up in my previous relationship with that virtual assistant, you know, we kind of did a trial basis, right? Because that experience with things not working out with that virtual assistant, I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, let's just kind of start with like 2 to 3 months. Let's see, let's check in with each other. As part of her onboarding plan, I kind of had that 90-day, like, here's what success looks like, and let's check in at 90 days. Because also, while I'm looking for something, like, it can also not be working from their end, right? And maybe didn't meet their expectations. So I kind of do that 90-day check in and do a trial period. So I think that's that's the advice I would give to people is don't be afraid to just do a trial period with people and see if it works for you and them.
Oh, that's a great idea. Thank you.
I know I said it before, but that like getting to clarity, and a recent thing that a client of mine and I started doing was using ChatGPT to help us get to clarity.
Oh, I forgot to ask that. Yes, let's talk
Which,
about it.
yeah, which I think is kind of like interesting. And it's like, I need someone to do this. What do I need? What do I need to make sure that I'm giving them? And what, you know, and like using it as a, you know, a role play kind of thing to get you to think through things differently.
Right.
But there are, you know, all kinds of ways that you can do that.
Thank you. Does anyone else use AI for your business? It's next level. That's all I can say. It's next level. And I have like 2 webinars, I think, next. So I get work, you know, myself, but through these like recruiting agencies, if you will, and they both have some webinars about AI and using it with your business and to attract clients and all that. So really good stuff. I probably will share some insights once I finish those. So be on the lookout for that. Last question. If you could give one piece of advice, kind of similar here, but if you can give one piece of advice to yourself when you were just starting your business, what would it be? Get help. Don't do it all yourself. Anyone else?
Be intentional and thoughtful about what you are deciding that you want to do for a business and what you end up calling it. I think when you put us in the breakout groups, the person, she had to leave Astoria. We were chatting, and if I could do anything over in my business, it's probably the name of my business. I went back and forth at the time, and I just kind of sat on something, and it means what it means to me, but it's confusing to other people. I get a lot of requests to do, like, it's by design consulting, and basically it's saying, hey, that whatever the service that I provide is by design. I have a foundation, but I tailor everything to the company's needs. But I get so many requests to be an interior designer, to design these, like, so it's just being very thoughtful in how do you align what you're doing with your business name so that people in the branding of it all, that people understand what it is that you do so that you can get the business, right? I think people know what I do because I talk a lot and I speak a lot in places, so they have an understanding. But if I think about social media and some other things, there's a misconception about what I do in my business, and it's because of the name. So just being intentional about that and really thoughtful, especially if you're trying to brand something for long term, and make it consistent and wanting people to engage with your company and want to hire you, making sure that you can pick something that they are going to be able to, that it doesn't just make sense to you, that it makes sense to the customer that you're trying to hire at the end of the day.
That makes a lot of sense. I've changed my name 3 times now. It all had Liz Chanel in there. It was super clear. You know, Liz Chanel events. It's a whole nother story. Anyone else want to chime in with, what would you tell your younger self, your naive self, when you first started your business?
I would say I went through a period when I first started of like second guessing everything. I was second guess, like, oh, you want to work with me? Like, oh, okay. I was like shrinking still. Wasn't sure about, I wasn't confident in the expertise that other people saw in me yet, right? And so that meant that I went down a long road of undercharging, of over delivering, of doing way more because I thought I had to do all of these things to be seen worthy and for our services to be seen as valuable. So I would just tell her that you are doing enough, that you are enough, and like um stand in what other people like, stand in what you should know about you, because that's going to also reflect the way that other people see you and entrust you. So does that make sense? Stop saying that. You know what I mean? Like stand in what you said and keep and stay confident.
Yeah,
That's what I would say.
love that. All right. Well, thank you, ladies. Does anyone else? Okay, Letitia, you have a question. You sent to me directly. Have you ever invested in a business coach? Well, my personal answer is heck yes, and it's definitely helped. If so, what benefit has it done for your business? Thank you, Letitia.
I've invested in a business coach, but I had this conversation in the group chat earlier when we were in the breakout. Check your local nonprofit agencies in your area. When I started my business, there's a place in the county that I live in that does a lot for entrepreneurs from start to finish. Like they help you with trademarking, they help you with the LLC, they have someone review your website, they talk to you about the steps of starting your business, and all of that is free. And a lot of times that those type of places are located. So if you can't afford a business coach, that's the next best thing. I think I've learned something from both. But in starting my business, that organization still reaches out to me today. And I started working with them maybe 7 years ago. And they still check in to see, are there any resources that I need? Are there anything that I need? Do I want to come back through the program or do the next level of the program? So there are a lot of those. So I would seek something like that, because then it puts you with other people who are also just starting their businesses. And so I was able to build some relationships with other people who were starting their business that are in the local area that I'm in. And we've kind of I partnered with a couple of people a couple of times. So
Yeah. I'll just piggyback off of that. That's so true. So, with getting my sauce and working on that, I was able to get into a cohort, a food incubator in Chicago through a grant. So, a company had a grant, and one of my honorees through my organization, she was like, "Oh, I thought about you. They have this incubator." I'm like, "I never heard of it." Free program. So whereas I would have paid to take that Illinois exam, paid a couple of $100, the grant paid for it through the city of Chicago. And they're actually paying for all of the different licenses that I need And we went through it.
Can you share that in the chat? Can you share that?
Oh, sure. I'll share the name of it. And we went through 8 weeks. We learn about everything from like marketing, from brand visibility, what your logo should look like, everything, and it's as it relates to business. And it literally, like I said, was free. I was online trying to pay for a course to
Yeah.
to do it, and this program did everything. So to Keisha's response earlier, yes, definitely seek your community, other nonprofit organizations, because there's some resources out there that can really help you on your entrepreneurial journey.
We talk about about SCORE. We've talked about Women Business Development Center. Now, wait, is SCORE is nationwide, right? I'm pretty sure. Have you all heard of SCORE?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm gonna drop the link here. So I just dropped the link. So it's mentors. So it's retired business owners, and they help other business owners with writing plans, marketing, etc. So you can find it looks like they are nationwide. So you have that, and then you also have Women's Business Development Center that might be Chicago based, but I know they have webinars and all of that as well. No, these are not, well, SCORE can be like a business coach. So check out those two. Oh, congratulations, Alice. That is huge. They're helping 1 million business owners, or women, right? Women business owners.
Yes, and it is a free program as well. The curriculum is developed by NYU Stern School of Business. And so over the course of 10 weeks, we go through each area of your business. You do get paired with a business advisor. You also get the opportunity for like a mentorship session. And I've never had a business coach ever in life. So this is a first for me. And I think just the community alone of other entrepreneurs has been really helpful. And the curriculum is actually good. I was surprised by the curriculum because I've been in some other free programs where the curriculum was not that great. So yes, I don't think the applications are open currently, but please check back if you're interested. Because it is a free program, and they have invested a lot into making sure that the curriculum is on point with what small businesses need.
Look, let me drop something for you. Because they just opened up this program. Look, I was not ready. Okay. It was like I needed all this information literally the next day. But I gotta find it. I put it in my notes, like all the stuff that I need to get ready. So I don't, what is it? Be ready so you don't have to get ready, right? So I'm gonna drop that once I find it, so it can help you all with getting getting all your stuff together, so you can have all this information put together for when you have opportunities like this. So if I can't find it now, which I'm having some trouble, if I can't find it now, I'll shoot it in the follow-up email that I send. Congrats to you, Danny, with getting that program as well. Any other questions? Thank you all for staying on here. Bank of America Institute for Women's Entrepreneurship at Cornell.
That's a good course. It's a free course also. It's limited. If you register and they don't have any seats, they'll let you know when they have seats. But I've done several courses with Cornell, but that one is a good one. And Amazon has a really good one for Black entrepreneurs also.
I think it's product, like product companies. Yeah, it's a good one. And Tory Burch has one that I applied for and didn't get into. I'll never do that long application again, but they accept 50. And if you can get in, I heard that is very valuable. But yeah, no, the application is intense.
I'm
A
sure.
woman that I follow that has a consulting business in North Carolina, she got in it last year. Yeah. So
That's
seems like
amazing. Okay, I'm gonna add this. I'll also, this might be too much. It is. It's 2,700 characters and I only have 1,000 limits. Let's see, maybe I'll just copy and paste some stuff. But anyway, yeah, this is gonna be too much. I'll send this to you via email and that follow-up email that I'll send either tomorrow or Friday. Let's take one last question. If anyone else has one last question for the panel, please either speak up or put it in the chat. While we're getting that possible last question, panelists, do you have any last words any last tips or tools that you would like to share?
I have one. You should Google the 4 quadrants of keep versus delegate.
What now? I'm sorry.
4 quadrants
Of what?
Of keep versus delegate. So when you're thinking
Okay.
about delegation, going back a little bit, if you think through all the things that you do every week or every month or every quarter, whatever, and you put them in the like, I'm good at it and I like it. I'm not good at it, but I like it. I don't like it, but I'm good at it. And I don't like it and I'm not good at it. It can paint a picture of where you should delegate your work.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Anyone else have any last tips or tools?
I would just say progress, not perfection.
Don't
And-
listen to me earlier, right?
And yes, and you just can't do it by yourself. I mean, you really, even if it's a volunteer or it's an intern or it's a family member, like you really do need to build a strong team around you that can really help you get, faster, quickly, and just kind of get to that destination and things that you all want to do. And I really have had some things that I've had to overcome and just realize that I can't do it by myself. I tried, I was postpartum and I was like, yep, nope, this is not going to work for me. I definitely need to have a strong team around me that can help lift as I climb and really help me go further. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Totally understand that. Anyone else? No other questions? Okay. I'm gonna go through the line here. Just let people know where they can find you and if you have anything coming up or if you have any offer. I will start with you, Joyce.
Oh, okay. Hi. You can follow me at sherocksit.com. That's the website. We are on social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook. What I have upcoming is our annual I Am She Expo, which will take place in March, Women's History Month. That is also when the next edition of the She Rocks It magazine will drop. And for the panelists that are on here, I would like to feature your business in the magazine. So I do want to offer and give you all a free ad in the magazine where I will embed your link, your photo, whatever information, if you have a product or whatever. That's just my gift to you all as we, support each other. That's how I would like to support you and your business. So I will definitely, get your information, and yeah, I would love to have you as a part of the magazine, and everyone around the world can see who you are.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Joyce. All right, Alice.
So we are, first of all, thank you, Joyce. That's so sweet. We are the Digital Jane on all platforms, Instagram, LinkedIn. I also have a workshop coming up called Delegate That, how to craft your SOPs effectively. I know that ChatGPT is actually out there, but it's still important that you understand strategy and structure behind what you're documenting so that it's not just generic fluff, right? We want things to document things that people can actually use. So I do have free workshops also sometime, and I love to support businesses. So however I can support, even if it's just helping with suggesting a tool, I'm always in DMs giving, advice as much as I can and supporting as much as I can. And My last thing is do what you love, delegate the rest is the goal, is to be able to stay within your zone and to hand off things eventually. But just take your time in it. It is a muscle that you will build over time that I'm still building, right? So you will always be in a growing phase with delegating. So give yourself some grace.
Thank you. Can you drop the information for your upcoming events, please, regarding delegation, either in the chat or email me and I'll include it in the follow-up. Anything that you all have going on, feel free to email me and I will put that in that follow-up email. All right, Miss Danny.
Yes, you can find me at thrivelimitlessly.com. We're also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at Thrive Limitlessly LLC. We have an IG live series that's coming up in a couple of weeks, so I will make sure that everyone here gets that information. And then we also have a free career transition email series on our website. I'll be sure to drop the link for anyone who might be thinking about pivoting careers, thinking about what's next for them, thinking about that, asking for that promotion or elevating their career. And so I want to make sure that I share that as well.
Thank you, Danny. All right, Stacy.
Stacy, intentioncollective.co, predominantly on LinkedIn, but my Instagram handle is on my stacy.l.bailey. And I'm going into a season of trying to do less in the holidays. So coming out of a busy season. So when we get to the other side and we have fun things to share, I'll email you.
Sounds great. Thank you. All right, Miss Kenisha.
Instagram, most of my things is Kenisha Jones. On LinkedIn, you can find me at Kenisha Jones. On Instagram is the Kenisha Jones. My website, I mentioned that I am thinking about changing my name. My website, you can get to it, Consulting with Kenisha. Very simplified. So that's my website, has all of that information there. On LinkedIn, I do have a newsletter for the Authentic Life. As I mentioned, that's a new nonprofit for me. So I have a newsletter that I drop once a month. There's probably about 4 or 5 out there now. So subscribe if that's something that you're interested in. I am releasing a podcast. So I am around the authentic life. That is something I think I'm going to be moving my business towards more than what I'm doing. Really, I'm doing what Stacy is doing. I'm going to be taking 3 weeks off work. So right now I don't have for the holidays. So
Yes.
I don't have much going on. The plan is to kind of plan for 2025, but at the same time, not be given to anyone but myself during those 3 weeks. So once I do have some things, I'll be sure to share. But I am willing to support in any capacity that I can for those that may need help with whatever, especially equity work. I do a lot in that space. So if you ever in a place where you're working with someone and that's a strength that you need, I'm always willing to support and have a lot of resources for that.
That's great to know. I'll definitely keep you in mind for that. Well, I want to thank you all attendees for coming. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to come. And I especially want to thank my panelists. Thank you so much for all your help with promotion and all of the jewels that you dropped this evening. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I will be in touch with you all, the attendees, and separately the panelists. So thank you again. And please remember, as Danny said, progress over perfection is something I struggle with on a regular. And delegate, get stuff off your plate so you don't feel so overwhelmed and burnt out. All right. Have a great night. Thank you so much.